Philadelphia Eagles walked into Week 5 undefeated, but left Lincoln Financial Field with more questions than answers after a frustrating and self-inflicted collapse against the Denver Broncos. What should have been another notch in the win column turned into a lesson in how not to play championship football. And if you're a fan who stayed up late watching this, or maybe you're catching up early Monday morning, you know exactly what this game felt like: sloppy, undisciplined, and completely avoidable. From the jump, the Eagles looked like they were ready to control the pace. The offense had moments, real flashes, of what made them so dominant last year. Jalen Hurts was making confident throws. The connection with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith was clicking, and even Saquon Barkley had that explosive 47-yard touchdown wheel route that reminded everyone why he's a threat out of the backfield. But for all of those highlights, there was an ugly side of this game that overshadowed everything. Penalties, mental lapses, and a complete inability to adjust when Denver changed their defensive look. That's what championship teams don't do. That's what the Eagles did all night. This game didn't get away because Denver was some unstoppable force. The Broncos didn't even reach the red zone until they finally broke through with a touchdown well into the second half. For 3 quarters, Philadelphia's defense did their job. They were flying around, limiting chunk plays, and forcing Denver into mistakes. At one point, the Eagles had held the Broncos to just 3 points through 3 quarters. That should have been enough to coast to a win. But when the offense goes cold, the defense eventually cracks. They were on the field way too long and completely ran out of gas by the time the fourth quarter rolled around. And when the Eagles needed a lift from their offense, they got nothing. What happened after that Barkley touchdown was inexcusable. 0 points in the last 5 drives, just 3 first downs, and an average of less than 3 yards per play to close the game. That's not just bad, that's alarming. And it goes deeper than just missed throws or a bad play call. This team lacks rhythm. They lack urgency. And they still don't have answers for something as basic as a zone defense. How is that even possible with this much talent on the field? Jalen Hurts, for most of the game, was actually solid. He completed 23 of 38 passes for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had a quarterback rating just above 100. He made some throws that should be leading off highlight reels. A 52-yard laser to Devonta Smith that traveled 50 air yards, a dime to Dallas Goedert in the red zone, and that perfectly placed wheel route to Barkley. But the story of this game isn't about what went right. It's about how all of that got erased by everything that went wrong. Let's talk about the offensive line for a second, because they were overwhelmed from start to finish. Denver came into this game with a number 1 pressure rate in the league, top in sacks, and first in quarterback hits. And they showed exactly why. 6 more sacks, constant disruption, and Hurts under pressure seemingly every other snap. This line, which used to be the foundation of the Eagles' offense, has been flat-out disappointing so far this season. They're not opening holes in the run game, and they're not protecting their quarterback. That's a dangerous mix for any team, let alone one with Super Bowl aspirations. And then we get to the penalties. This is what really sets off the alarms. Pre-snap confusion, illegal formations, unsportsmanlike conduct, and flat-out dumb football. These aren't talent issues. These are mental errors, discipline problems, and coaching failures. The kind of stuff that championship teams avoid at all costs. Yet on Sunday, the Eagles couldn't stop hurting themselves. A perfect example, after that beautiful 4th down conversion from Hurts to Smith, which would have put them in position for at least a field goal, the play gets wiped out because Barkley wasn't set before the snap. 9 seconds left on the play clock when he motioned, 2 seconds when he got set. More than enough time to avoid that mistake. But still happened. And that's the kind of thing that kills drives, kills momentum, and kills games. Another drive, 2nd and 1, Eagles deep in Denver territory. Hurts hit Smith again for what should have been a first down, maybe more. But Tyler Steen gets flagged as an ineligible man downfield. That's another mental lapse. That's on the quarterback. That's on the lineman. That's on everyone. Instead of pushing forward for points, the drive stalls, and they come away with nothing. Again, you can't win like that in the NFL. Now, a lot of fans were asking the same thing after this one. Why did Saquon Barkley only get 6 carries? And it's a valid question. This wasn't a blowout. The Eagles had a lead in the second half. There's no excuse for your star running back to have 6 rushing attempts. It's not just on the coaches either. It's a mindset. It's how this offense is choosing to operate. And part of it is this obsession with feeding the wide receivers. When guys like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith start chirping about targets, it's obvious this coaching staff feels the need to appease them. But in doing that, they're sacrificing balance, identity, and what made them successful in the first place. And while we're on coaching, where are the adjustments? Denver started in man coverage, and the Eagles moved the ball. Then the Broncos shifted to more zone. They showed blitz, but dropped into coverage, and the Eagles had no clue how to respond. This has been a theme all season. Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, whoever's calling the plays, they've got to figure this out. Because right now, they're getting out-coached when it matters most. Let's not ignore the defensive collapse either, even if they were great for most of the game. Fatigue set in late, and the Broncos capitalized. That Zach Bond personal foul? Sure, it looked like a football play. The whistle was late. The tackle wasn't dirty. But this has been happening too often. Unnecessary roughness, personal fouls, late hits. These are the kinds of penalties that elite defenses avoid. The Eagles didn't, and it burned them. There was also the lack of urgency when trailing late. After the Broncos took an 18-17 lead, and by the way, credit Sean Payton for going for 2 and taking the aggressive route. The Eagles had over 7 minutes to respond. But again, they looked disorganized. No tempo, no urgency. Just another drive derailed by penalties and mistakes. The offensive line false starts. Illegal shifts. Another botched snap. And the opportunity slips away. So if you're frustrated, you should be. Because this wasn't just a loss. It was a self-inflicted meltdown. The kind that makes you question what's really going on inside that locker room. After every game, we keep hearing the same excuses. We're not on the same page. We've got to clean up the mistakes. We'll get fixed. But at what point does that stop being acceptable? When do the words turn into action? You can't coast on talent in this league. The Eagles found that out the hard way. They were able to skate by in the first 4 games despite their flaws. But this time, against a physical and smart Denver defense, the margin for error vanished. And Philadelphia got exposed. The worst part? Jalen Hurts played well enough to win. He made the throws. He led with confidence. And he looked in sync with his weapons for much of the game. But none of that matters when your team is shooting itself in the foot every other possession. The penalties, the breakdowns in protection, the coaching decisions, all of it piled up until there was no way out. This wasn't about talent. This was about discipline, focus, execution. And right now, the Eagles are failing in all 3 phases. And if they don't clean it up fast, this season could spiral. Now looking ahead, the Eagles don't have time to sit around and dwell on this loss. The short week is already here, and the New York Giants are waiting on Thursday night. That might sound like a gift, a chance to bounce back against a struggling division rival. But that's exactly the kind of mindset that gets teams into trouble. This is not the time for excuses or complacency. This is the time for accountability. Because make no mistake, the Giants are going to come in looking to add to Philadelphia's misery. And if the Eagles show up with the same sloppiness and lack of urgency they just displayed against Denver, they could find themselves in an even deeper hole. One of the biggest problems right now is that the Eagles are not playing like a unit that believes in each other. Offensively, the lack of chemistry is obvious. Timing routes are off. Motion plays are disorganized. Too many snaps feel like they're rushed or coming too late in the play clock. And in critical moments, like late fourth-quarter drives, there's this lingering sense that no one is truly confident in what they're doing. You see guys looking to the sideline, not lined up properly, not ready. That's not how you win tight games in the National Football League. When players start talking about not being on the same page, that's not just some cliche. It's a real problem. And it's starting to feel like this team hasn't truly moved on from last year. For all the talk in training camp about turning the page, about 2024 being a clean slate, it sure doesn't look like it. It looks like a team still leaning on what they did last season, assuming the success will carry over just because they're wearing the same uniforms. But in this league, you don't get credit for last year's wins. You earn it every single week. And right now, the Eagles aren't earning anything. Even the leadership, which has been one of the core strengths of this group, hasn't looked quite as sharp. Whether it's on the sidelines or in post-game comments, there's too much deflection and not enough ownership. The veterans are supposed to be the ones holding everyone accountable, setting the tone, keeping the locker room focused and sharp. But when the same mistakes keep popping up, late hits, illegal formations, procedural penalties, it tells you something is off. That edge, that discipline, that swagger they had last year, it's missing. And you could sense it in that fourth quarter collapse. The moment things started to shift in Denver's favor, you could see the body language change. The confidence faded. The focus wavered. And that final possession, with the game on the line, felt more like a team hoping to make something happen than one that believed it would. There's a big difference between those two mentalities. And right now, the Eagles are stuck in the wrong one. You also can't ignore the coaching decisions that keep putting this team in a bind. The play calling has become painfully predictable. The Eagles haven't shown creativity when they need it most, and their adjustments, or lack thereof, continue to be an issue. The inability to deal with zone coverage is not a new problem. It's been there all season, and yet, week after week, it's like the offense has no real counter. They rely on talent to bail them out rather than scheming solutions. That works against bad teams. It won't work against smart, physical defenses like Denver. And it won't work in the playoffs if they're lucky enough to even get there. Even situational awareness has been a concern. You look at how they handled the final drives, how much time was wasted between plays, how slowly they got to the line, and you realize this team doesn't have a plan in crunch time. Why is this offense so disorganized late in games? Why aren't they getting set with urgency, especially when they're trailing and every second matters? These are the little things that great teams master. And right now, Philadelphia is failing at the basics. And while Jalen Hurts has looked poised and sharp in moments, he's also part of the problem. He needs to take more control at the line of scrimmage. When his team isn't set, that's on him to fix. When a penalty is looming because of pre-snap confusion, that's his responsibility as the quarterback. Leadership isn't just about highlight throws and passionate speeches. It's about managing the game, commanding the offense, making sure everyone is ready to go every single down. Hurts has the tools. He has the mindset. But he's got to be more consistent in the leadership department, especially when things start to spiral. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are stirring in Philadelphia as McWilliams, the latest name on every Eagles fan's lips, reportedly expressed deep regret about his decision to join the franchise. According to sources close to the star defensive end, McWilliams allegedly called his move to the Eagles "my worst choice," sending shockwave through the locker room and leaving fans questioning the future of the team's defensive strategy. McWilliams, who was once hailed as a game-changer for Philadelphia's defensive line, seems to be having second thoughts about his decision. Teammates describe him as increasingly withdrawn during practice sessions, sparking speculation that morale in the locker room could be taking a hit. The timing couldn't be worse, with the Eagles gearing up for a high-stakes stretch of the season and relying heavily on McWilliams to anchor their pass rush. Insiders hint that McWilliams' frustration might stem from more than just on-field performance. Rumors suggest that the player was expecting a more aggressive defensive scheme, one that would allow him to dominate and make highlight reel plays, rather than being tied to assignments he perceives as limiting. There are also murmurs about clashes with coaching staff. Those sources are quick to emphasize that nothing has been made official. Still, the air of uncertainty is palpable, and some fans are already speculating whether the Eagles might trade the star defensive end sooner than later. Social media erupted as snippets of McWilliams' comments surfaced, with fans divided between disbelief and concern. Some loyal supporters insist that the 26-year-old simply needs time to adjust to a new system, and that his talent is undeniable. Others, however, fear that a disgruntled McWilliams could derail the team's defensive cohesion, turning what was once considered a powerhouse acquisition into a ticking time bomb. While the Eagles organization has remained tight-lipped, insiders claim that front office executives are quietly monitoring the situation, aware that public relations could quickly spiral if the story gains traction. In the meantime, the rumor mill churns, and every practice, every snap, and every sideline interaction is being scrutinized for signs of tension. One thing is certain: the Eagles' off-season dream may have turned into a locker room dilemma, and all eyes are on McWilliams as the drama unfolds. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.